This is Conversations
with Ronnie Keith
and Iris. All right, we are back with Conversations with Ronnie Keith and Iris. I am your host today, Ronnie Keith, and I promised you guys that there was going to be a part two of Conversations with Morehouse Brother number 1A and 1B. I don't know which one is which, so I'm going to just call them 1A and 1B. We've got Rock back in the building and Dr. Professor Antwann. How y'all guys are doing this evening? How's everything with you all?
Cool. I'm doing great, but just to clarify, Rock is Morehouse Brother 1A. I am 1B.
You know what? Your name Antwann and I'm Rock. So what if it's Morehouse Brothers A and R, right? And since you already got the A, I was gonna say B, but I don't want to say the B because I don't want y'all to know my government name. So we're gonna say A and R.
I like that.
Oh goodness.
I like that. A&R, that's a good one. Okay. Well, last time we were here, again, first of all, I want to take the time out on the air to thank both of you brothers for doing this with me. We've had some reschedules and everything, and we were supposed to follow up that following week, but a lot of stuff have happened since then. And I just want to thank you guys for being very flexible and, being able to rearrange your life to sit down with me to finish up this conversation about the movie Sinners that we talked about a few weeks ago. So first off, I want to thank you guys for that. Before we get into part two, and if you guys haven't, you need to go back to episode 47 of Conversations and hear part one, because we're going to jump into part two today, because I was pressed for time. I ain't gonna say I was pressed for time, shortened it, and now we're back with part two. It's gonna be spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, and it's been out, how long? 3 weeks, a month?
I feel like a month.
Yeah, pushing a month.
Yeah, it's pushing a month. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, yeah, it's exactly as we record this. It's a month. It came out on April 16th. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, then that's shame on you. But before we get started, I just want to check in with you guys. Rock, you got anything going on with yourself? Anything you want to promote today?
No, I do want to say shout out to Morehouse class of 2020. I'm class of 05 technically. Well, no, I'm class of 05 by year, but I'm technically 06. I graduated 06. I needed one more semester. You know how it be sometimes. But this weekend is graduation, and it is 20th anniversary of class of 05. So I want to shout out to the Morehouse class of 05 20th anniversary.
All right. Shout out to Morehouse. At least they know how to do something right. I can't speak for fam, but that's not the
My
show
goodness.
for this. That'll be on Sunday. Well, Tuesday with the short this drop. Dr. Professor.
Yes.
What's been going on with you? We know you have your YouTube show. We know that you have your TikTok page that is blowing up constantly. What's been going on with you? What's the latest on your show that you have that you've been talking about, and when can people expect the drops, and where can they find you?
Nothing. I shouldn't say nothing much because I have been recording. I've definitely been recording. Just covering, the latest news of what's happening, of course, with the Supreme Court in terms of the Trump administration in their attempts to with birthright citizenship. Did a piece on that, and we'll have some other things coming forward. Talked about RFK taking a dip in a bacteria-filled river there in DC. So we're trying to figure out if he's going to survive or if natural selection is going to take its course. We are also celebrating the Nottoway plantation burning to the ground. So shout out to the ancestors. So that's what's been covered in terms of when it can be caught. I try to post 1 or 2 times a day. But I am on all, not on all platforms. I am on Instagram and YouTube at Antwann Michael and TikTok at Antwann_Michael. So yeah, that's what's been going on.
Loud back there. Who back there knocking?
Oh, that's me on my desk. I'm sorry.
Oh Lord.
That's my ring. You know, I talk with my hands.
I know. I know.
And my hands keep hitting my desk. That's on me. I'm sorry.
This ain't the TikTok show, brother, where you got the immaculate editing.
I said, bro, somebody trying to break in your house. What's going on?
Listen, because our friend Keith, yes, I'm gonna call him out, would definitely be the first one to hit me up and say, "What is all that knocking noise going on?"
That's me. That's me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
Hey, one quick question before we jump into it, Antwann, are you gonna find a time to discuss what's been going on with FAMU?
Yeah, I will definitely be speaking to what's going on with FAMU. There's also an issue that's happening with Ron DeSantis that I'm looking into at the same time. But Marvin being appointed as president is definitely an issue. So we do need to keep our eyes on Florida Agricultural Mechanical University. Because that
and the board of trustee elector too. What's his name?
that's
Raphael
going to
Hernandez or something like that.
I'm sorry.
What was his name? Was it Raphael Hernandez or Mark? Something like that. The guy that got appointed to the board.
I would have to look into it more closely, but I do know that it's something to pay attention to. The last that I heard was that students were organizing on campus, and with Black students organizing on campus, and during this particular administration, that means something, right? In terms of it goes beyond, okay, we don't want this particular person serving in the seat of the presidency of the college or university, but we know how the Trump administration feels about campus protest and how they squash dissent and opposition relatively quickly. So I do think that it's a possibility that FAMU will definitely develop into something that we need to watch more closely.
Okay. And just to clarify, his name is Rafael Vasquez. He was announced as the newest trustee member on Thursday afternoon. He was not there for any of the interviews or part of anything. He's the owner of JV and Sons Incorporated, which operates McDonald's franchises in Tallahassee, and is a board member for the Foundation for Leon County Schools and Keep Tallahassee Beautiful. He earned a bachelor's degree from the University of South Florida and a master's at Northwestern University. So he
watch this space.
Yeah. So, along with Marvel. So I can't wait to see you cover that, and we will discuss that. Listen to you discuss that at a later date. So definitely keep your eyes and ears open for what Antwann has to say in his commentary on all things that's going on, not only just in the political realm, but in the realm for Black Americans and minorities. So thank you, Antwann. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. So again, we're going to jump back into where we were with Sinners. If you heard last episode where we left off at, we were discussing the infiltration of the Asians that came to America and how they were able to integrate themselves into both communities in the movie Sinners. Sinners is a movie that came out last month in April, starring Michael B. Jordan, among others, directed by Ryan Coogler. This movie has surpassed what certain media outlets, Variety, were saying that they would not be able to do. To this day, Sinners has grossed over $292 million. It had earned $223 million in the United States and Canada and $69.3 million internationally. So this is a great turn because a lot of these movies that have been coming out that are original movies are not performing as well as Sinners. Most movies that have performed this well, matter of fact, the last time a movie performed this well, I want to say it was a sequel to a cartoon, and I can't think of the name of it. But original movies from an original script that are not from a comic book or anything like that are not performing like this. And Sinners has really taken off to the point where they had announced around the time that we recorded last that the movie was going to be removed from the XD IMAX 70 millimeter films screen in the movie theaters. Generally, movies stay there about a good 2 weeks or so, and they had gave it probably, I think, an extra week but the movie Thunderbolts was coming out. Well, it's back in those theaters and those screens. So as I was talking to the fellas before we came on, when I went to see Thunderbolts at the movie theater, they have two of those IMAX screens, and I saw Thunderbolts to the left and Sinners to the right. I was like, oh, okay, it's back in there. And Antwann, as he'll speak later on, he's gone to see that movie 3 times, and he just came back from seeing it as we recorded for the third time. So, yeah, it's doing very well. I'm especially proud of it myself because it's not often that you see black filmmakers get an opportunity to make an original film in these modern days that we're in. Which, when you look at it, it's like, wow, why not? With the impact and the value of the black movies that came out between the 80s and 90s, especially in the 90s to the 2000s, those original movies, the rom-coms and all those things, they made such a big impact on the culture as a whole. And then all of a sudden, we just didn't see them anymore. And if we do see them, they are Tyler Perry movies, or they're just going straight to streaming. We're not seeing theatrical releases for these original screenplays for black movies. It's extremely rare. I can't even think of. I think the last time we saw this was earlier this year, actually. So I don't want to discredit the movie with SZA and Keke Palmer was released earlier this year. I want to say it was called One of Them Days, which also performed beyond expectations at the theaters. It was it definitely made back its budget 3 times fold. It did very well. It just was released on Netflix. So those are two examples of movies starring a predominantly black cast that are original screenplays that have performed well. But we don't see it as much as we've seen it in the 90s going into the 2000s with, Eddie Murphy leading the charge. He really catered to the black audience, having all black people in his movies to a point where he made the movie Boomerang, and there was ridicule coming down on him because they were saying there were no white actors in the movie. And I had to think about it when I saw that article. I said, "Wow, there wasn't any white people in the movie. Good for him." He made a great movie showing successful young black people, and he didn't have to have a Caucasian person involved to credit the movie, right? I guess in some cases you see they'll add a white actor to, I guess, to boost the credibility. But at that time,
what's the worst? What was the worst? Sorry to cut you off.
No,
You
go
know what
ahead.
was the worst offense of that?
Mm.
The best man. What was the second one? The second best man.
When Nia Long had the white boyfriend.
Right.
Hmm.
That's the movie that had the A-list, best of the best.
Yes.
We waited. We from the franchise to all the black actors that we love, and somebody say, what this movie need? A white boy.
Right.
I'm like, who said that? Like, why? Like, why? To this day, that still irked my nerves because the guy, he never even showed up in the series.
Well, that's
he
what
was
I'm
gone.
saying. Yeah, they corrected it. They righted it wrong. You know what I mean? Which thankfully they did. But
yeah, he had look, man, y'all got a million movies out there. You ain't got to be in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, man. So again, Sinners is just done phenomenal. So let's go back to it. Let's go back to the thoughts and the feelings of the movie, and touch on a lot of things that we felt that was much more than what the script was given out, and what we received from that. And I just wanted to speak with you fellas about that. This is your show. I don't talk enough. So let's jump into it. Where would you guys? Well, so
hey, look, Antwann just walked out of the theater.
Yeah, he just walked out. So let's go, Antwann. We're gonna feed off of you this episode. Talk to us, brother. You just experienced for the third time and just fresh. So tell us about your experience and let's dive into it.
So, I mean, with this being, my third time seeing it and being fresh out of the theater, one thing that I appreciate about the film that I will say is how the nuances and details of our culture are hidden in plain sight, but that no one can see it but us. there are some things that take place in this film that you will not understand, that you will not get unless you are in this community. And one of the things that I do appreciate is that there are those who are non-melanated that are like, hey, we do not necessarily get this film. We don't understand the music scene. We don't understand what he's doing with the vampires. We don't understand what's happening in the water, right? When Remick and Preacher Boy are having this moment, what's going on with the guitar? And I was like, that's because it's not for you to understand, right? And at the same time, I think what is also very interesting about the film, right? If there is a part of the film for me that could be critiqued, is that Ryan did not allow white people to see themselves as themselves. That in order for this film to be like digestible for the larger viewing public audiences, white people had to be rendered as vampires in order for white people to be able to digest seeing themselves on screen. That somehow, white people are able to leave the theater and be able to make a disconnect, right? Because for them, vampires are fictional. They don't understand the specific and nuanced ways in which, no, this is actually you. So I wonder how much more impactful the film would have been if Remick and other white people who render as vampires would have just been able to be white folks as the standard people that they are, right? That's going back and seeing the third time, like, that's one of the critiques that I'm thinking through, that had to be made palatable for white people, palatable for larger Hollywood, so that they know, oh, well, this is not how we act. No, this is how you act. This is how you act, right? But overall, I definitely did appreciate how there are certain Black practices that if you don't know, you don't know. And you're not going to know because you're not meant to know. That is hiding in plain sight. And there are just some things that you will not get. And I really, really appreciated that about the film the third time, along with like some other like nuances, that were in there. That I was just like, yeah, makes sense. Right. So I appreciated seeing it the third time. We'll see if I see it a fourth time. But Ryan has got enough of my money. So there's that. But I do really wonder, and I would love to speak, to him more about it. I do really wonder, you know, um, what it meant to render white people as vampires, so that they would feel okay with seeing the scene, right? It kind of sort of reminds me of Django, right? When the Klansmen have this moment about the sheet on the horse, and it's like a laughter moment that breaks up the seriousness of the film. And that moment wasn't necessarily for Black people, it was for white people to feel comfortable viewing themselves on screen, as opposed to understanding, no, this is who you are. You are vultures, you leech, you do all of these things, right? And going back and seeing the film again, and I think I said this last time, one of the things that I really would have liked for Ryan to do was lean more heavily into I forget the character's name, but she's the white woman who's married to the Klansman, right? I wish he would have leaned more heavily into her character and really showed the violence of white womanhood in that moment. Not that white women are just complicit, but that they are at the center of. We got a little bit of that with Mary, but it was kind of sort of diluted, not to just throw the word out there, right? Because she's like, oh, my grandfather's half Black, congratulations, whatever, right? But the one true white woman, if we want to say it for that part, I think he allowed her to escape in the film in some ways, right? And I would have really liked for him to drill down on her and show the fact that she's not just complicit, but the fact that she is making decisions about what's happening and how white women, map onto this moment. Those are some immediate thoughts off the top of my head.
It's very interesting. Rock, what you got?
Now look, the first couple weeks I watched it more than enough times. Now I haven't watched it since, but I still, you like a song that you just remember. One of the things I would say about the movie is I wish I didn't see the trailers. Because the twist of the whole vampires at the, it wasn't even, I think it was at the 115 mark or something. that twist would have stood out kind of crazily. And the movie itself, like I was just enjoying just watching 1930s Mississippi. If there was a whole movie of just that, I was 100% in. And then then you had the big twist. I would say, Antwann, with the idea of not really kind of putting the mirror in white people's face about their history. I do wonder if it's like a catch-22, right? Because I've always been yearning for just period piece movies for black people in the Jim Crow South that don't focus on racism. Like we know it exists. It's always there, right? But the fact that me, you, and Keith, we here, that means somebody that fell in love, or at least at minimum had some sex. You know what I'm saying? That mean there was some relationships going on, some friendships, some brotherhoods, some sisterhoods, familial ties. It was a lot of stories like regular standard family stories going on and existing amongst all the crazy stuff and all the racism during those times. And I guess it's like a catch-22, right? Because if you don't focus on it, you kind of want to hone in on the just the human, regular schmegular everyday black folks doing their thing. And if you don't focus on that, then maybe you're doing a disservice to not really kind of show the gravity was what was really going on during those times. But then if you show the gravity of it, then you kind of fall into the trope of like the whole, how people say, oh, just another slave movie, just another Jim Crow, So I don't know if it's like a catch-22, or like how do you balance it of showing them as they were, but also showing us as human beings without this big cloud of Jim Crow racism, white racism hanging over our heads all the time. Because I'm pretty sure people just had a good time back then. Just great. Like I said, holler at that old girl. Some people, didn't wash up before they got the business. I'm pretty sure stuff like that just went down in life. But but
Down there eating that thing like soft serve ice cream.
And it's funny that you said that, Rock. I don't mean to cut you off, but I did notice at the train station, nobody turned their head when when Stack. Wait a minute, which one was it?
It's Stack.
Was Stack.
When Stack was talking to old
Mary.
girl. Yeah, nobody, like the white people didn't like turn back and say, "Who is this nigger talking to?" You know what I'm saying? Like they just went about their day.
But you saw how he was talking, right? He was like, keep it moving.
He was keeping it moving. Yeah.
Don't hear about your business.
Right. But even still, that was damn near prohibited back then for that to happen, especially in the South. And so I was surprised by that. And then how the only time in this movie that you really saw the racism is when the Klan came at the end to kill them.
They hinted towards it. When they first bought the little shack, and they was talking to the guy who was revealed to be the Klan wizard or leader or whatnot.
Right.
And they also hinted towards it when the vampire got the white couple and that door opened and they like peered back behind them and they showed that Klan robe. So they kind of hinted towards it. And shoot, even the vampire said himself, he said, "Hey, look, they set you up. They was gonna come and kill you in the morning, and we should go there in the morning and go and catch up with them and set them straight too." So even the vampire was like, "We should probably go over there and get the white folks too." Yeah, so they like dropped hints in it, and then it was full-fledged towards the end. Okay, not a Klan here, and even then they didn't even show up in robes. So I guess that's like.
Right.
Which I'm not, Antwann, I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing, right? Like, do you let them show up in robes and don't show their faces, or do you show their faces and let it be known like, nah, these are regular, everyday citizens. Your teller at the market, your farmer, these are regular people around the city who come around and do this stuff, and don't let them hide behind a white robe or whatnot. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
Well, I think there's two things to take into like consideration with what you said, right? I definitely think there's purchase with Ryan focusing on Black agency, right, and Black life and Black thriving and Black resistance, right, and pushing back. I definitely think that's a point to consider. And the second one, as it relates to the Klansmen not being in their robes, I do think there's a through line to that. And I think it's excellent that Ryan did not place them in the Klan's role, but rather just, put a glance toward it, and showed them as everyday regular people. Because again, what that would have allowed for is this distance between white people that are in the film, white people that are observing the film, being able to say, well, hey, no, I'm not like that. But also understanding, right, how they do their business on the golf course, how they do their business in real estate, in fact, does render as racist as they are agents of the state, right? So this would map onto something like what came out of the FBI, I believe that was October 2006, that said, well, we have a problem in the United States in that we are concerned that that police forces across the United States are being overtaken by Klansmen, by neo-Nazis, and by these other white extremist hate groups. And I think it's interesting that Ryan played on that by not allowing the Klan to be in roles, but to show up as themselves, and that the Grand Wizard is the sheriff, right? Like, it's just one of those things. And I think it's interesting to take into consideration that as it is today, so it was back then, and that those same issues are persistent, that it is both historical and contemporary at the same time. And I think in that particular instance, it does allow for white folk to see themselves on screen and to understand it. Yeah, the way you do that real estate deal matters, right? How you engage with black folks and how you set black folks up, right, also matters. So I think it was strategic. I think it was a good thing that he did it that way.
Hey, so we left off we left off with the Asians last time, right? I think the last time I watched it, the first thing that came to mind was, they should have kicked that Asian lady out immediately, because she was compromised. She was 100% compromised. Her kid was back in the town, and her husband was outside. Like now they didn't hear her say it, but she was not down for them. She wasn't ride for them. She was already 100% compromised, and her priorities was outside of the juke joint. So I was like, nah, y'all. It's one of those. It hurts. Or maybe it don't hurt, but she got to go. We got to kick out.
I think that told a story too within itself, right? Because here we are, in my opinion, we always, and when I say we, I say Black Americans, we are the saviors of the other minority races, right? And so we will sacrifice ourselves to make sure that everybody's good with us, rather than, you know what, let's put ourselves first. We need to make sure we're safe and we're okay before we even go over here. NAACP, National Advancement for Colored People. Can we focus on the Black people first? That's just me. That's what I took from that, and that these other minorities will not hesitate to put us in danger. They won't hesitate. Now, looking at that, what I can say, Rock, what I took too, if the roles were reversed, I don't think the because he was on the black side, I really don't think that the husband would have been. He would have probably ran out there after her, if anything. But I don't think he would have been trying to let them in either. I think now because that is what we have seen historically with non-black minority women, that they don't care about sacrificing black people for the sake of them getting ahead and what they want. And what she wanted was her husband, knowing that he was gone, knowing that he was dead. And she was going to do whatever it took to get her husband back, even though she knew, because immediately she burned his ass. You know what I'm saying? But she didn't care about sacrificing the lives of the black people that were there. And I'm surprised that Mary didn't just throw her ass out
She should have threw her ass out. She should have threw her ass out. Yep.
But that's what I took from that. With that whole time of them trying to hold her back and putting their hand over her mouth before she screamed, come on in here. It was like, okay, there y'all go again. There we go again. Not y'all. There we go again. Trying to wear the big old cape and take care of everybody under the rainbow tree that's considered a minority. And look what happened to us.
You know what? And I hate to use these words, but it's a quote from The Wire. I think Bunk said it. And I don't know if you heard it. He said, "There you go again, giving the fuck when it ain't your turn to give a fuck."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think, and
Hey,
sorry about the language, but that's the
yeah,
first thing came to mind. Like we always want to be Captain Saving for everybody,
yeah.
and man, it is just not. But you know what though? You know what? Let me know if I'm tripping. I'm not saying it's not us in general because we
Hmm.
definitely do have a forgiving and a we are the world spirit. I'm not saying that, but it did cross my mind. Y'all saw all of that conversation about black. What was it? Black is what's it? The black is exhausted for black people, or what was that phrase they talking about? Black like they tired of black people.
black fatigue.
Black fatigue. That's what it is. I don't know why
Uh-huh.
I can't think.
Talk about it.
Right. I wonder if now this is my first thoughts was that I wonder if it's the black fatigue isn't caused more so by the generic black population. Maybe it is if it's a thing, right? But my thought was, let me get to it. My thought was it's probably because our leaders, our quote unquote leaders, the people who they throw out there to speak for us, they always use the black plight, the black cultural cachet, the black history to fight for everybody else. Even like I hate this like DEI, right? We
Hmm.
we kept saying, hey, DEI benefit white women more. Let them be the face of this fight. And of course, your Al Sharpton, all your typical black quote unquote leaders or faces or whatnot. They kept trying to make us the face of it or whatnot. When it's like, hold on, how about we just fall back for a little bit and let the people who benefit the most, let them fight this fight. Let
Do the
them,
work, right?
let them do it. And so I do want, and keep speaking of Asians, I remember way back when, I think there was a situation with a guy on the airplane, an Asian guy on the airplane, and something happened where he got kicked off the wrong way or something like that, and all the black folks got up in arms, and I never forget you was like, "Hey, black folks, this ain't our fight,"
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so I wonder if part of the reason why, like the black fatigue, if it's relevant, if it is, it's because they keep using us as the battering ram, as
Mm.
the call out there, the whatever, just to be the face of opposition, and we want to jump in front of everybody's fight. And I've been saying a long time, this is about the movie, man, but I've been saying a long time, I did not like how, and I still don't like how they keep trying to make black women the face of the Democratic Party and everything that they're pushing. And I can see,
Mm.
like, because now it's Jasmine Crockett out there. Now she want to run around, talking all crazy and stuff. And I just wonder if, like, when people think of it, like we just being the face of a lot of stuff that we don't even really benefit from. That ain't
Hmm.
even our fight. But because the leaders get their little cut of the pie, they keep throwing us in the front of it. So I'm sorry, that was just a side note. Sorry about that.
No, 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 no. Antoine,
No,
what you got for me?
I from what you said, Rock, to me it ties in, right? Because black fatigue on its face in how that particular term has been developed, like within black space, speaks to like the mental exhaustion, the physical exhaustion from the institutional, structural, and systemic racism that black people experience day in and day out. However, as it is being articulated in a contemporary context within wider non-black spaces, is they are saying that they are experiencing black fatigue because they are sick of us saying that we experience racism institutionally, structurally, and systemic. So now they are saying they are experiencing black fatigue because we keep speaking to these issues. However, what is interesting and how this ties into the film is they only experience black fatigue by their definition to the extent that they can no longer extract value from our bodies, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how does this map onto the film? In this particular moment with Grace, right? That's the Asian woman, right?
Right.
In this particular moment, she gets to say, "Hey, I'm experiencing this black fatigue, because I'm sick of y'all. I made y'all signs, I make sure y'all have food. I came in
Hmm.
here and did this thing. I'm over y'all. I have fatigue with y'all." So this larger conversation that white people are saying, well, we now have black fatigue because we over y'all talking about racism and what you are experiencing, is the same exact conversation that Grace is having in the film. She's over Annie. She is over Smoke. She's over Preacher Boy. She's over Delta Slim because now
Hmm.
what the black community is experiencing in the film, right, is a type of barrier for her, that those who are gathered in the juke joint, that their labor is no longer in service for her and to her, and she's not able to extract value from their lives. And in that moment, that's what prompts her to say, come on in, because these niggas ain't no good no more. Take them out. Right? So she's experiencing, like, so she's able to make this claim that's implied onto this white rendering of Black fatigue, certainly not our definition of Black fatigue, and that makes us think through and about even how in that moment, right, Grace gets to benefit from DEI, much like the same agents who came up with the Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard University case, right? That she gets to dictate the moment, and in the end, just like the Asian students from the Harvard case, whose enrollment ended up going down as a result of thinking that they would receive some type of privileges, Grace too in the film ends up dying because she thought she had some type of privilege and did not listen to Black people. Right. So I do think you bringing that up and thinking through and about like Black fatigue and what white people mean by that in this moment versus what Grace did in the film, there is a through line there, and there's definitely a bridge to think about.
And what y'all think about Miles, the nephew? Is Miles? No, is that his name?
You talking about Preacher Boy?
Preacher Boy. Is his real name Miles Canton, or that's his name in the movie?
That's his real name.
Sammy Moore. Oh, I thought you meant within the film. My bad.
No, his real name is Miles Canton. His name in the movie is Sammy Moore. Yeah, like you said.
Okay, Sammy. Okay, cool. What y'all think about him? I thought he was real cool, man. I thought he was real cool.
I think he did a great job. I think that was his first acting role, or at least that I know of. I know that I think his mother sang with God, is it Fred Hammond? One of them. His mom was a big gospel singer. He sang background with he toured with her, and her was the one that actually encouraged him to go out audition for this role. I think he did a phenomenal job. And the part that I really enjoyed, and this involves him, is how Ryan started the movie out with him. He is, you look at, when you watch the movie, you say, okay, Michael B. Jordan playing the twins, Smoke and Stack, are the main characters, but in reality, they aren't. The main character is Sammy. Because that's who the devil wants, right? It's his God-given talent that he has, and it's the decisions that he makes that would precede the day. His dad gave him that advice about the devil following, and that's what ended up happening because the devil wanted him. That's who he heard. That's who he wanted. That's all that mattered. And so the opening scene, starting with the end of the day. From that previous night, it started the movie to let you know what was what had happened without telling you what happened. It really had me sitting on the edge of my seat because I was like, wow, what's going on here? He going in there barefooted with a broken guitar and going to his dad, and it was just like, oh, okay, Sammy is the focal point. And the movie ended with Sammy. It ended with Sammy. It started with Sammy and it ended with Sammy. And I thought that made it really, Ryan made his business and point. I don't know how many people caught it, that this movie was about the soul of Sammy, in my opinion. So that's what I got for him. What about you, Antwann?
Without saying too much, because again,
say it. They ain't seen it by now. The hell with them.
These in plain sight. Well, I'm just talking like in terms of like black culture, right? And I was just talking to my little brother about this on our drive back from the film. There is a very specific aspect of Black culture that Sammy, Preacher Boy, right? That Preacher Boy is referring to. He is the prequel to this film, and if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. That is a very specific through line, right? And when it comes down to the guitar, right? When it comes down to the crossroads, when I say that Preacher Boy's character is layered, it is layered. And the way in which, I think you all said the young man's name is Miles, and the way that he embodied that character, he has it. Like that it thing that we talk about, he is steeped in it. It's in his voice. It is there, and he embodied that moment. And if you understand the narrative of Black spiritual practices that that Ryan Coogler was leaning into with that character, and you understand what was happening, because Delta Slim is very, very important, right? And I don't want to go too far off, but it's very important that Delta Slim meets Preacher Boy at the crossroads. Who's also at the crossroads is Mary, who is ultimately the embodiment of the devil who causes the downfall of the Black community. All right. Now, without saying too much, because again, if you know, you know, because Ryan hid these things in plain sight. The way that that character was played was, when I tell you it was chef's kiss, it was on point. And to me, if there's going to be, like, you know, another extension of this movie, and I think Ryan has said something to the fact that he won't say it because there are just certain things that in the Black community we don't talk about in public. It's one of those things, again, that if you know, you know. Keith, you are spot on. Preacher Boy is the main character. He is the main character. Like there's no way of getting around it. And I think what was even more interesting, right, is that one of the things that Smoke and Stack make, well, actually it's Smoke, because at that point in time, you know, Stack, you know, is a vampire, he's off and away, is that he tells Preacher Boy, oh no, that's not the guitar. That was my daddy's guitar. Right? It is so interesting. It's like, so who is the daddy? Now, I have the ideas in my head because Smoke and Stack's father never makes an appearance on screen, but he's there vis-a-vis the guitar. So there's some very clear things that Ryan Coogler is doing by saying, you know, from this colonized Christian preacher who is he's
the brother of
Stacks. He's the brother of Smoke and Stack's father, but he's also a Preacher Boy's father, right? So it's interesting that you have this colonized Christian man who's telling his son, hey, you leave that devil alone. Then he meets Delta Slim in the devil at the crossroads. And that's the introduction, and it unpacks from there, right? And I'll just leave that there because I don't want to go, you know, too far into it, and then people tell me I'm, you know. But nonetheless, if you know, you know.
Hey, I want to say, as far as Sammy goes, I watched a bunch of the behind the scenes, the interviews with Coogler, and he talked about how, and some of this I might have mentioned in the first episode. He talked about how he had an uncle, like he's from so Coogler's from California. But if a lot of people know, depending on where you were in the South during the Great Migration, you went to certain places, right?
That's right.
Like if you kind of like Georgia, South Carolina, a lot of times they went up to like New York, the New York area. Like the Mississippi, a lot of times they went California, to Chicago, et cetera, right? So Ryan Coogler's he's from California, but his people are from Mississippi, like Snoop Dogg. He talked about how his people are from Mississippi and all of that, right? And so long story short, Coogler spoke about how he kind of felt guilty, and I've had this epiphany about 4 or 5 years ago. But he felt guilty because he's like the standard Pan African, where you want to reach back to Africa, you know, like where we really from, you know, you kind of
come on,
right, but then you realize. In Ryan Coogler's case, he said he was down in Byron, Georgia. He said this on the Breakfast Club. He was in Byron, Georgia, and he first saw his first cotton field. First time he ever saw it. And he said Charlamagne asked him, how did you feel? He said it made him feel guilty, right? And he said he felt guilty because he's been so much like back on this going back to Africa stuff that, you know, but that's like 500 years ago, over 400 or 500 years ago.
Speak on it.
That he skipped straight over his immediate ancestors, his granddaddy, great granddaddy, great great granddaddy, the ones everybody from, you know, the late 1700s up until, you know, the mid 1900s. He said he skipped straight over them, and he felt a sense of a sense of guilt. So he always talked about how he had an uncle who was from Mississippi, and the movie was kind of like an ode to his uncle, who always kind of played the blues around him. And an ode to his uncle, and more so an ode to his Mississippi roots, you know, and that's why the movie just like touched me so much, because, you know, I long story short, I've kind of been on this whole journey of going around the world trying to figure out who I am. This is a typical thing, like I don't know who I am, and then I was like, hold on, man, hold on, I'm Black American.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was I thinking? Like, how am I? I was doing the same thing Kugler did, which is skip right over, all my elders, my great grandma, and all that stuff. And which is crazy because this movie is based in 1936, and this is why this movie touched me. The movie was based in 1936. My grandma was born in 1930. Oh, wait, hold on, I'm sorry. The movie was based in 1932. I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
32.
32, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the
32,
year my
32.
grandma was born.
Yeah, right. My grandma was born like 1935, I believe. And my grandma, she used to always go back to her parents' graves, right? And pulled up a picture, and like her mom was born in 19 like oh 06 or oh 07 or something. And
Mm-hmm.
her dad was born in like 1898. You know what I mean? So I'm and my grandma, she just passed back in January, rest her soul. But I'm sitting there talking to my grandma who had parents back, damn near to the the 1800s.
Yeah.
And those people, like our great grandparents, you rarely ever see them on the big screen. We rarely ever see those stories told on the big screen unless it's on some, white people came through and killed us, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's why it touched me so much. Like just seeing them, like at the end when they did the recap and they was getting out the cars, showing up to the to the juke joint, getting ready to have a good time. That I got choked up. Like that's my grandma and my great grandma and my great granddaddy and all of them
Mhm.
getting ready to have a good time to the best of their ability during that time, despite all the BS going on around them. They still just trying to go out there and have a good time, make the best of life. And it just got to me, man. Like we don't never really pay much homage to our
Yeah.
immediate ancestors, because a lot
Mhm.
of times we just try to. I'm gonna say we, but I'm gonna say a lot of times Black
Mm-hmm.
America, just try to skip over it. And I think there's a whole renaissance. Be real with you, because Beyonce is running around with that American flag. So I think there's a whole renaissance of us really kind of like reclaiming and reprioritizing. Like, hold on, man, we got a lot of history here, a lot of stuff to be proud of here. And we don't need to skip past hundreds of years and all the way over an ocean just to feel some
Mm-hmm.
sense of pride in who we are. So
And
yeah.
and I will say this to your point, Rock, and how this manifests in the film. There is a reason why twice in that film the camera zooms in on the feet of those working the field standing on the ground
Yep.
bare feet.
Hmm.
And that is quite literally Ryan Coogler saying, go back to your roots. Because even in the roots of the South is West Africa, right?
Hmm.
It's not the fact that, okay, well, a bunch of, West Africans were sent across the Atlantic and we didn't retain anything culturally. This is part of the point that he's making in the film. The ways in which we pick cotton. White people did not know how to properly farm cotton. They didn't know how to properly farm rice. Those
Hmm.
are our interventions. Those are our technologies that we developed. So when we put our feet on the ground in Georgia, in Alabama, in Louisiana, in Florida, right? When we do that, that is what we are paying homage to, even down to like this use of the guitar. That comes all the way through from the kora. That is an instrument that comes out of West Africa, right? So to your point, and I do like that you're pointing to this. To your point, we don't in this back to Africa movement. Oftentimes, no, you need to go to the cotton fields. You need to take off your shoes. You need to put your feet on the soil and ground yourself in who was there and get that understanding that you can't
Hmm.
skip over all of that. That the ways in which Annie showed up in the film, the ways in which Smoke and Stack showed up in the film, the ways in which Delta Slim showed up in the film, even the ways in which a railroad was used, which is also very intentional in this film, all has to do with the indigenous ways in which Black folks understand ourselves. And there is a reason why there is a tension between the father, who is a preacher, and then Preacher Boy, because Preacher Boy is trying to get back into how Black folks did things like before this Christianized takeover, right? And I won't go too far into that because I don't want to, offend anybody's Christian sensibilities. But nonetheless, to your point, I do think it is so important that we revisit our grandparents, our great grandparents, and
Mm-hmm.
understand the specific ways in which they cooked, the specific ways in which they prayed, the specific ways in which they protected our communities, and to your point, the specific ways in which they enjoyed themselves. Because even in the moment of the juke joint, what Ryan makes clear is that who makes Black people safe is, in fact, Black people. That when
Mm-hmm.
you let the wrong people in, even those who have proximity to Blackness, Mary, they mess up the space.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, very very on point with that you don't in this back you don't have to go to Africa to find yourself. You can go back to the southern roots, trace it back through of the Great Migration, because inherently in the South, in South Carolina, in North Carolina, Virginia, in all these places, that West Africa is there too, and there too you will find yourself, because there is somebody who prayed us, meaning me, you, Keith, and everybody else who's Black. There is somebody who bared the whip, bared the shame, even bared the moments of enjoyment, because they had us in mind. And we do ourselves a disservice when we cross the ocean but won't get on the plane to go to the field.
There you
Oh
go.
yeah, they always skip right over
Yes,
the
sir.
South.
Yes, sir. Well said. I want to cover three quick things and we can get out of here. One of the things I want to cover is, hey, Ryan pointed it out. Always listen to a Black woman. Now, Annie kept everybody in line. The only thing she didn't do was throw the Asian woman out of
She didn't throw Mary out either, because she said Mary was family.
there. Yep, she didn't throw Mary out. Well, she didn't know. Well, she didn't let Mary back in. She didn't know that Mary was in there. Mary ran out of there after Smoke had shot at her, shot
Oh,
her
that's
up.
true too. I give her that. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll give her a pass for that. But and it's crazy too that you say that, because with vampires they lose their emotions and feelings. But did you see how Mary reacted when he killed Annie? So she wouldn't turn
Mm-hmm.
into a vampire. She acted all hysterical, which was kind of weird. Uh, but anyways, Annie wouldn't let Cornbread big ass back. He was
she had it out from him from the start. She didn't like him at all.
well, she literally kept everyone at bay. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the guidance, and she protected Smoke. I'm sorry, yes. I don't know why I keep getting them
Smoke, you
confused.
got it right.
She
Yes,
protected
Smoke, yeah.
Smoke all these years. She
Hmm.
conjured up that bag for him and everything, and it protected him. And as you see at the end, when he took it off for a reason, because he wanted to be back with his family.
He
Um,
did.
so I wanted to touch base real quick on that, and then also the final scenes. What did that mean to you guys as well? So
Uh,
let's go through that real quick.
Hey, real quick, also with the bag, I guess the protective little sack, I forgot what they called it. There was a moment where Smoke and Stack was fighting, and
Hmm.
Stack, I think he tried to bite him,
He did.
and it was like a deflective force
Mm-hmm.
keeping him from biting them. And
Mm-hmm.
some say it might have been the bag, some say it might have been he just couldn't do it because it was his brother. I think it was a bag. The way it was kind of
100%.
Oh,
illustrated, it
absolutely.
seemed like the bag was like even protecting them, like up to that point. And Annie, man, yeah, she was holding it down from the get go, man. And she mentioned Haints,
Hmm.
which I think I might have heard. I think I might have heard either somebody old in my family say that a long time ago, and I never even asked what it was because it sounds satanic, so
Their
I left it
spirits.
alone. But I was young,
Yeah.
as being raised Christian, and anything outside of that, it's just it's the devil. So I just kind of left it be. But yeah, what was we talking about? What's the lady name? It was Smoke's lady. Yeah,
And
she was holding it down, man.
absolutely.
Like I said, like the white lady, man. She, there's all it's always the one that bring him along, man. Then invite him to the cookout. That's always gonna be the downfall, man.
Well, let me say this
Hmm.
to you, Rock. What that was is she practiced what they call hoodoo, right? And
Hmm.
so we being brought up Christian, like we were told all that is demonic and all this other stuff. Now, on the flip side of that, I know a couple of Christians probably gonna get offended,
Come on
but
and speak it.
what do you think cooking black eyed peas and collard greens on New Year's Day is? What do you think not opening up, putting your purse on the table is? What do you think not opening up your umbrella are turning off everything in the house
Mm-hmm.
when storms are going on. What do you
Mm.
think that's a practice of? You
But
I
you
know,
know
don't
what's
know.
funny? You know what's
huh?
funny? You know that's one of those things like just like omnipotent. Like we just do it, but we don't even know why we do it. Like
Exactly.
Speak.
unless somebody remind you and like school you on, hey, this is where this came from, then we don't even know why. That's why when they say like the whole like Black Americans don't have culture, like we don't outright talk about it and like explicitly. We just
Hmm.
do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody, no, it's not like anybody tapping us on the shoulder and reminding us like, hey, this come from X, Y, and Z. We just like to have this whole like swath of things that we do, and you know beliefs or superstitions or routines that we do, and we just do it. Like and, you know, unless you ask the question and start digging around, you don't even know why you're doing it.
Hmm.
Everything you just said, I recognize everything you just said. I've never questioned why we did it. It was just something that we just do.
Hmm.
You know, and I will say this, Keith, you don't even have to go that far. Stay in the church. Stay in the
Hmm.
church. Where do you think where that all white on the first Sunday comes from?
Hmm.
Right? Where do you think that laying on of hands with olive oil comes from? Where do you
Hmm.
think the hooping hooping is a form of conjuring? Right?
Hmm.
Where do you think that comes from? Even if you go back, all right, Church of God in Christ, folks, y'all hang on. Even if you go back and you look at these pictures of Bishop Mason,
Hmm.
what is he holding?
Hmm.
Right? These
Hmm.
are things that are hidden in plain sight. These are so a lot of the aspects, right? In this, you know, in this particular instance, this dates back to slavery and how we place our spiritual practices in plain view within Christianity because it was superimposed upon us. So that is why, in this contemporary context, when we have white nationalists talking about God this, God that, it is impossible. Not the fact that, you know, this episode was supposed to go here, but we're here now. It is
Hmm.
impossible that white folks and black folks are praying to the same God. That's not what's going on up in here. Because how can one be ruling over the other and we praying for freedom, but we praying to the same God? That's not how this works, right? We
Hmm.
hid our practices in plain sight so that when black folks say, in the name of Jesus, there is a way that that name of Jesus has been conjured over hundreds of years to where that moves a type of power, right?
Hmm.
That is okay. Let's get off of that. All right, move on.
Mm, mm.
Right,
Well,
that
well,
is
we're
the
gonna have to.
result.
We got to stay on it because we got to talk about the ending of the movie.
That is the result of black spiritual working in what is going on, spirit possession and all of those different things. That is why when we get to the tail end of this film
Take me to
and
the
preacher boy is in the
water.
church by himself and he's
Before.
seeing this little light of mine and he looks
Uh huh.
up
Yep.
and the
There you
film goes
go.
off. The question you have to ask yourself is, who is preacher boy looking at?
Mm.
Mm, mm.
And also look at the before that end part, the final confrontation with the head vampire, the demon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take me to the water where
Listen,
I need to get baptized.
put him in
Mhm.
there 3 times.
Dunked him 3 times, and as he recited the Lord's Prayer, what would Remick tell him?
He said
Oh,
the same thing was done to my people. He
yeah.
said that ain't moving nothing
Mhm.
over here.
Recited it with him as
That's
he
Mhm.
it.
continued to baptize him in the water.
Mhm.
Sure
Mhm.
did.
And the only
Amen.
thing that killed him was the sun, the light, the
Well, he
light.
found like he got that with it, that silver to his head out
He
Yeah,
of
he got the
that
silver to
guitar
his
from the
head,
guitar.
and then he did get staked, but it didn't. It was killing him, but it didn't kill him till that light came up
the.
when the
Mhm.
sun came up.
That's it.
You know what stood out, man, when he had got hit in the head with that guitar, and the big old pieces in his head, and all the other
Mhm.
vampires started screaming.
Yeah.
Man, I saw old girl. What's my boy Semi? Remy's not Semi. What's my guy name? Miles's name. Um,
Oh, the young
his
lady
girl,
that he's yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
and
Okay.
she was screaming.
Perlene.
Pearline, I saw Pearline screaming like, "Damn, you a vampire now, baby? Damn, man, they got you too." I know she got bit, but you know how it is. She was out of sight, out of mind until they showed her with the teeth. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Damn, Pearline, your husband sitting at home, and now you a vampire. Just got ate out. Damn, you know."
And I didn't see cornbread. I didn't see cornbread get killed.
He
I
had
wonder
to
if
be
he
out there.
ran
He
off.
I
had
think
to
he
be
was
out
in
there.
the if I'm recalling, he was in the foreground of the film. Like everybody was there. He was in
Mm.
the foreground, but he got burnt up. He sure
Oh, okay.
did.
Okay. Because I didn't
Yeah.
see him, but
Yeah. Do y'all think Pearline was really married? Y'all think she was just
No, I
No,
don't think
get-
Pearline was married. I think Pearline was just trying to push Preacher Boy off until he put that thing on her.
yeah, so.
You know, the
Yeah,
only thing that
he
made
put that thing on. The girl came out there stomping on that floor.
Oh yeah. Oh Lord, that was so funny. That was she was on 10 as soon as she left. But yeah. Oh, that was so funny.
So, fellas, before we get out of here, any final thoughts on the movie, and then also, you know, will we see more original black screenplays because of the performance of this movie be brought back to theatrical release? Let's start off with you, Rock.
Y'all are gonna be sad about my response. I'm gonna say no.
Hmm.
I think if anything happens, it won't be because of this movie. I mean, Hollywood has shown us time and time again that no matter how big black, how many big, massive black movies that we have, like Black Panther came out, did 1.3 billion. We thought that was gonna bust the doors open. Not really.
Hmm.
I mean, we proven ourselves 10 times over to Hollywood. I mean, we can run down all the stars we got from the 80s to the 90s to the all the way and it's up until the present day. And they always seem like they try to make us start back from zero to prove ourselves to get in these roles. Well, I'm gonna be petty. That's Black Americans because Black British people seem like they just jump over here and get in the lead roles and without nothing. But Black Americans though, it take a little bit.
Talk about it.
Yeah, hey, it is what it is, man. The truth is the truth, and it is what it is. So I'm not really, I'm not, unless it's, what I will say is Hollywood has its favorites, right? So like Hollywood loves Issa Rae right now. They love Ryan Coogler. I'm not even sure who else. Your standard, Denzel, X, Y, and Z. So I'm
Michael B.
pretty sure
Jordan.
if it goes through Ryan Coogler or Issa Rae, then it definitely has a shot. Oh, Jordan Peele. If it has
Mhm.
if it has some ideas, has a have a chance of going through them, then yes, I believe that we have a shot at getting it from them. Those
And with Michael B.
avenues.
Jordan, it's the starring of the vehicle too, because he
Right,
seems to
right,
be the guy.
right. But generically, nah, I don't think that they're going to kind of open the doors up to us generically. That's that. One other thing I want to say, and it's there is a video game called South of Midnight. It's the spiritual cousin of Sinners. It's based in the deep south in the bayous of Mississippi and Louisiana. It's following this like she got to be like maybe 23-year-old black woman.
What
She's
is it
trying to
called?
find South of Midnight. South of Midnight. It's a video game. It is a great video game because, like I said, the same way I didn't see much of like 1930s Southern people on the big screen, you don't even see that in video games either, right? But this is a video game that's based in like the Southern bayous of Mississippi and Louisiana, and she's trying to find her mother, and she has like magical powers and whatnot, and it kind of deals with like trauma and how trauma kind of turns people into like these mystical creatures, and she has to go in and kind of defeat the creatures to save them from the trauma. It's real touching. I mean, it has real touching stories because she does it throughout the game. I mean, it has there's literally the thing that got me in this early in the game is that she literally follows her ancestors to guide her. Like you push like the right analog stick, and you'll see like a spiritual ancestor, like a Harriet Tubman kind of figure, who will kind of like lead the way. So
Okay.
which I've never seen that in a video game. It's only on Xbox and PC, but it's like a spiritual cousin of Sinners. And I love it, man. It's one scene that it almost made me cry. Real talk. So it's a great game, and I just want to throw some shine on that because it's a really great game. And if you don't have either one and you don't even want to buy it or play it, watch it on YouTube. Google
Mhm.
search South of Midnight gameplay movie, and people they've cut it together to like 3.5 hours where you can watch the whole thing. So it's great. I promise you, it's great.
All right, I'm gonna take a look at that for sure. Got that written down. Thank you, Rock. Thank you for that. Before we go to you, Antoine, I do want to read this out real quick. This is what my brother from another mother wrote about the movie, and he said it was full of rich symbolism. To me, I felt he was saying we have our own space and our own everything, but the moment we let them in and embrace it, destroys us, and we so desperately want and fight for all our people to become like them that we lose ourselves. That baptism scene at the end gave me chills. He was trying to consume into his own way of life. The music was amazing. I loved how he showed we have that bloodline connection to our ancestors, forwards and backwards. Such a rich lineage, and music truly links us. The dance floor scene was my favorite. The scene where he shot the two men for touching his truck, but was so hesitant to fight off the vampire. We attack our own, but full of timidity when it comes to them. Maybe I'm too deep, but it was everything. Cinematography was excellent. The plot was executed great. And oh, let's not forget the scene with cornbread. Evil can't just come in your life. You have to open a doorway or portal for it to enter and invite it in. Our lives come down to choices. So I wanted to read that out. Antwann, take us on home with your final thoughts on the movie and the future of filmmaking.
Yeah, so I'll do them backwards, right? In terms of the future, I am just opposite of Morehouse Brother 1A. I do think that this will open the door for more black movies and productions to come forward, only because when Hollywood experiences, or really any industry, including the nation, experiences a drought or a challenge, because now Trump's trying to put tariffs on the film industry as well, they turn to black people to make the money happen. That's the only reason that I think we'll see a little bit more black films come forward. I do believe, we'll get the Jordan Peele's, Ryan Coogler's, Issa Rae, etc. Those names that Rock listed out, and maybe one or two now introducing type moments. But typically, when the nation or any type of industry finds itself in a tight spot, that is when they want to highlight black people, because they understand we have a story to tell. So I do think we'll see a little bit more that happens there, even though they do need to put a little bit more promotion behind Braveheart, another film that Ryan Coogler that is behind, that will be coming onto Disney Plus. So check that out. That's part of Marvel MCU. As it relates to the film itself, overall, fantastic. Excellent. I think anytime that a film can generate a conversation, have people around the world and communities like talking about it, you have done an outstanding, excellent job. Overall, very excellent, excellent, excellent film. I've seen it multiple times, and shout out to Ryan Coogler. He's an awesome brother. I have had an opportunity to meet with him and talk to him like very, very briefly. He's a cool brother, and he just keeps doing an outstanding job, and I hope he keeps going.
Ironheart. That's
Ironheart. Did I say Braveheart? Ironheart. I'm so sorry. Lord, Braveheart's already here. Y'all don't go see that. Yes, Ironheart. My bad. People gonna be on Disney Plus looking for looking for Braveheart. No, it's definitely Ironheart. You are correct. My bad.
Mm-hmm. The Keith, you muted, Keith.
I don't think he know he muted.
Listen,
there he is.
I'm sorry. I was talking on mute. I guess God ain't want me to say it, but I'm sure gonna say it again. Tell Ryan Coogler he doing a great job. Just stay away from the Black Panther films. Thank you guys so much. I want to take the time to thank both of you brothers for coming on to this show with me so we could conclude part 2. As you know, guys, we try to do this quarterly. We were probably like a couple of weeks behind from doing our quarterly podcast, so you will be hearing from us again probably in the next 2 months. I want to say, well, another month probably. But as we try to do this quarterly, we do thank you so much. I want to take the time out to thank you, Rock, for taking the time to do this with me and join me and give your thoughts and your feelings and educating us on a few things and letting us know about that game that's out that we can actually watch on, because I'm going to watch it on YouTube. And I just thank you for your perspectives. Antwann, thank you as always coming on, giving us your perspective. We really appreciate you. Really appreciate you taking the time out. I thank you both, my brothers, for doing this. And we'll be back again, y'all. This has been Conversations with Ronnie Keith. And, well, she ain't here this time, but Iris too.